On the evening of February 13, 1945, one of the major impacts of the war would take place. A series of Allied planes flew over the city of Dresden, Germany, and created hell. This hell was first produced by the DH Mosquito, which was a lightweight plane that marked the path for the big bombers by lighting up the target because they were flying at night. Then, the bombers flew in after the Mosquito. American B-17s were escorted by P-51s during the day and British Lancaster bombers at night. During the daylight bombings, the Germans sent up the new jet fighter, the Messerschmitt 262, to combat the Americans. These planes brought hell to Dresden through exploding bombs, broken houses, massacre of civilians, and a firestorm.
Hundreds of Royal Air Force bombers descended on Dresden in two waves, dropping their lethal cargo over the city. The city was in Nazi Germany, and for this reason, it was a target for the attack as the Allies were at war with Nazi Germany. The bombing of Dresden was a scheme employed by Winston Churchill to send a very strong dispatch to the German people. Churchill thought as long as the Nazis continued massacring and destroying innocent lives, their families would have to pay the price just the same way. Dresden was an ideal target because it had factories and railroads that were used by the Nazi army. The railroad was a huge transportation system for the German soldiers, in which they could move to the front lines and also move their gear and weapons around. The railroad ran north, south to Berlin, Prague, and Vienna, as well as east, west, Munich, and Breslau, and Leipzig, and Hamburg. There's 110 factories in Dresden. The factories included a poison gas factory, anti-aircraft and field gun factory, an optical gear factory, gears, electric gauge, and X-ray technology factories. The Allies thought it was a good idea to bomb the city because there were very little anti-aircraft weapons to guard the factories and the rest of the city. Another reason the Allies wanted to bomb Dresden was to show the Russians the power that the other Allies had. Roosevelt and Churchill believed Stalin would be a problem at the end of the war. They did not want the Red Army to stray away from the agreements they had at the war camp. The Allies were tired of the war, and they wanted to wrap the war up. They thought after the attack, the German morale would be diminished, and that the Germans would give up the war. Bombing Dresden was necessary to crush the spirits of the Nazi war machine. Even though Germany's forces were weakened, they still posed a threat and were very dangerous.